This week, Bungie launched Festival of the Lost, and, of course, it's been interesting. That bit is predictable, yes. We've encountered some bugs with the new activity, of course, but outside of that, Festival actually has a few things going for it, to be fair. Today, we're jumping in with some news updates from Bungie, and they talk about upcoming content that we'll see shortly, but also touch on Festival of the Lost. They have actually extended the event, so we've got some new information about that, as well as rewards in it. But additionally, they recognize a couple of other ongoing issues with Destiny 2, and admit that there is a lot more work to do, so they directly recognize the work ahead of them, at least in some respect here, touch on future economy changes, and we have a few other things to round up. So if you guys find this video interesting, a rating really helps us out on the channel, but now let's get into it. Initially today, a few quick updates from Bungie here. Somebody asked whether Festival of the Lost will affect Trials of Osiris scheduling. Bungie said it will be unaffected by the event, aside from being a bit spookier than normal, so Trials will be back this week on Friday. I'm not sure if the spookiness is in reference to any specific gameplay mechanics. I don't think it is. Just the fact that Festival will be live at the same time. So that's one thing to look out for. Somebody also said, in relation to last week's TWID, another Arms Week, and Bungie confirm Call to Arms is separate from Arms Week. Of course, we have a lot of events these days, so it's understandable it could get a little bit confusing. Bungie actually spoke about Call to Arms last week, and they said this event begins on November 11th, acting as an end-of-season/preparation event for Renegades, really. Devrim K will return to the Last City, bringing weapon attunement for a handful of featured weapons this season, and will import daily shipments that feature powerful gear from different activities, which will really serve as a catch-up before Renegades actually begins. Bungie had also said we'll earn some tokens during this event that we'll be able to use in Renegades, so there'll be that, as well as the unique items, a new ornament for the new Malpays, as well as additional cosmetics, and then a competitive event taking place in a handful of different activities in the portal, where Guardians who score in the top 10% by the end of the event will unlock the ability to get this ornament, which looks pretty wild. So that's a quick recap of what that actually is based on what Bungie told us last week. Next up, in relation to Festival of the Lost. Firstly, Bungie say all festival gear drops at +1 gear tier during the event, but when we get holofoil weapons, they'll drop at +2 gear tier alongside a piece of armor of the same tier. And that is identical to Solstice that we had in the summer, so even if you can't normally get tier 5s even from Festival, when the holofoils drop, you should get that significant boost. You'll also notice they say that the event runs until November 11th. We'll touch on that, but they're actively looking into the issue where the Headless One boss cannot take damage in Haunted Altars. This is the soft lock at the final boss, and they say to try and ensure this doesn't happen, in the first phase of the boss fight, wait 10 seconds until the shriekers close, and then complete the damage phase to avoid the soft lock. Obviously, coordinating a team to do that with random matchmaking isn't necessarily easy, but it basically comes down to not over-damaging the boss incredibly quickly. I'd advise, if you're playing with randoms, to just not damage the boss and let everyone else do it. Let's see if it catches on and then the boss just doesn't die because no one does any damage. I guess it would be better than a softlock though, arguably. And in relation to the issues we've had early on, they've said, we've made the decision to extend Festival of the Lost by 1 week, and it will now run until reset on November 11th. So another week of the event isn't a bad thing, really. DMG also added, back-end folks have disabled join in progress, so you should not be launched into activities that are already soft-locked anymore, which I suppose is nice. It's a shame that this happened, really. As I said yesterday, the new game mode is not groundbreaking, really, but it's at least something different. It's a bit of fun, with the enemies wearing hats and dropping them to give us damage buffs. There's a lot of stupidity in there, arguably, but it is a Halloween event. In some ways, this is actually a better activity than what we got for the core of Ash and Iron, which is pretty mind-blowing. And the rewards are on point. I know there's feedback about the specifics of the weapon archetypes and the roles that they can get. I totally understand that, but outside of that component, it's a pretty rewarding one. Clyde also pointed out, if you buy a class item from Eva, you actually get 2 drops per pull for 2,500 candies, so that's something extra worth bearing in mind. And like I say, it's just a shame that day 1 was plagued with a bug as significant as a softlock, because it is something that you'll experience pretty regularly. An unrelated issue, folks have pointed out on Twitter that the Hushed Whisper Bow seems to be doing less damage than its precision frame counterparts in PvP. Bungie asked if this is happening in PvE as well, and reportedly, it seems to be bugged in the other direction against enemies, where it's dealing more damage than other precision frames. Which I guess is alright as far as PvE goes. Nonetheless, give us your experiences with Festival so far. Aside from the softlocks, given that it is a free event outside of if you purchase something from Eververse, there's actually not too much to really heavily criticize about Festival, and that's why it's unfortunate that it ran into a relatively significant issue. On other news though, Bungie have deprecated unstable cores, and they announced the new infusion cost of 1 enhancement core and 5,000 glimmer, and players pointed out the 700,000 unstable cores we got last week was just a waste of time. But D2 team said we wanted to make sure players could infuse without issue during the week where we made a bunch of reward changes in the portal, so it was very much a temporary thing for the 1 week that it was really relevant. Other quick updates. Folks talked about the fact that they've made these economy changes and said, are we approaching the rise to we are so back from the latest rock bottom? And the D2 team actually recognise we have a lot more work to do. It's good that they recognise that. A little bit of candor goes a long way, I suppose, at a time like this. And when folks said all of the it's gonna cost 1 million enhancement cores doomers were wrong, the D2 team once again recognise they actually understand the anxiety and we're doing what we can to rebuild some trust. Otherwise, they'd said they were planning for a few of the changes for economy to land closer to Renegades, but the team found some smart solutions in the short term that helped bring the changes forward. And I agree, many of these things have taken too long, but for people still interested in Destiny and still playing right now, changes are at least beginning to happen, and it will be interesting to see how much of this Bungie can carry forward into Renegades. There are the memes about building momentum, and I guess for those of us who are sticking around, we can only hope that with the further updates that we get in December, that momentum will actually start to feel like a thing. In some ways, it is happening at this point a little bit, but there are so many challenges, for instance, the activity bugs this week, which again, you can't really downplay the significance of them when community sentiment is already low. Bungie are clearly doing what they can with the limited resources that they obviously have, and hopefully, we are finally at a point where we can start to build from here. But safe to say in regards to bugs and quality, something has to be done. It's another area where we can't just continue the way we are, experiencing massive issues with nearly everything that releases. But perhaps that's a separate, more in-depth discussion for another day. Another quick update here, players have continued to talk about the fact that they can't use the vault from the character menu effectively, and Bungie marks this as the official answer, so open character menu and press L3 or the left thumbstick, and if you're on PC, you can press Control, and that will toggle vault mode on and off. Then if you press the same button, it'll go back to equip mode where it won't put stuff in the vault. So it is worth bearing that in mind additionally. Something else here which is worth a quick mention, but the Bungie Foundation have partnered up with Green Man Gaming, and right now you can get a really big discount on some Destiny 2 expansions. So this is an expansion bundle for 2025, which includes Renegades and Edge of Fate, so it's all of the content from this year, as well as 30th Anniversary, Witch Queen, Forsaken, Lightfall, The Final Shape, Shadowkeep, and Beyond Light for £31 here in the UK. Obviously it won't be much more than that in dollars, so if you did happen to want to catch up on any of that content you haven't purchased, or even jump into the Year of Prophecy stuff, including the fact that this has Renegades included, which is pretty bonkers, then it's certainly worth paying attention to, and I'll link details about that down below. For today, guys, that is what we've got. So give us your impressions of Festival of the Lost in the comments section. It's kind of cool that the event has been extended, and that means pretty much the day that Festival ends is the day that Call to Arms begins, so there'll be some kind of event content live now, pretty much up until Renegades. Give us your impressions on that. If you've enjoyed the video, a rating really does help us out on the channel. And as well, feel free to hit subscribe, and that way you can get updates as soon as they drop. But otherwise, thanks for watching, and I hope you guys have an awesome day.